lately, the German economy has not been doing well, and that's putting it very mildly. Volkswagen, the crown jewel of the German car manufacturing industry, is considering closing down factories in Germany for the first.
Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Okay guys, we're going to be seeing a video today, and this is titled "Something Terrible is Happening in Germany." All right guys, someone actually recommend I check this video. Okay, please, if you're so excited to see this video with me, please subscribe and let's get right into this. Okay,
For the past 20 years, Germany was the growth engine of the European Union. With its industrial base and car manufacturing empire, it exported its brands and products all around the world, and it grew faster than any of the other large Western European nations. But lately, the German economy has not been doing well, and that's putting it very mildly. Volkswagen, the crown jewel of the German car manufacturing industry, is considering closing down factories in Germany for the first time in history.
Is it that
the
bad?
German GDP, adjusted for inflation, has barely grown in the past 5 years, and the economy is dealing with what you could call a perfect storm of challenges and obstacles that all came at exactly the wrong time. And there are increasing doubts about whether Germany will be able to overcome its current slump, or whether this is just the beginning of something much worse. So why did the German economic machine suddenly run out of steam? How come that even with all of its legacy brands, the economy is struggling to grow? And will they be able to overcome this, or is this the end of the German economic success? This is the uncertain future of Germany's economic miracle. For decades, Germany was synonymous with economic strength. Ever since World War II, it enjoyed the so-called Wirtschaftswunder, or economic miracle, that followed the post-war recovery, and which blessed Germany with almost 4 decades of high growth, thanks to German engineering and manufacturing industries. And although the economic growth eventually slowed down, Germany had established itself as the industrial heart of Europe, fueled by export of products with large margins, like cars, machinery, and chemicals. Companies like Volkswagen, BMW, Siemens, and BASF became global leaders, with German products seen as the pinnacle of quality and reliability, and with Germans enjoying high salaries and high quality of life as a result. Its economic model was built on a few key pillars: a strong manufacturing base, a highly skilled workforce, commitment to quality, and very strong exports. Even during the global financial crisis in 2008, Germany emerged relatively unharmed, and it was considered one of the winners of the Eurozone crisis, with its economy expanding while many of its European neighbors struggled. But in recent years, things got a lot worse. Last year, Germany was the only G7 economy to shrink, and it's set to be the group's slowest growing economy again this year. In the past 5 years, since 2019, its GDP per capita actually shrank by 1%, the 34th worst outcome out of 41 high-income economies. Out of the G7, even the UK and France did better, while the US, which Germany wanted to catch up to at one point, is in a whole different league. But while the current German economic performance is bad, the real underlying worry is different. The real question is whether the current economic problems are just a seasonal cold, a temporary slump caused by effects beyond Germany's control that will eventually go away, or if it's a result of a chronic disease.
okay guys, so many times we've heard about economic crisis in different countries. In fact, almost every country has economic crisis. No matter how small the country is, no matter how big the country is, there's always economic crisis. Okay, and Germany is not an exception. All right, Germany is actually big, all right, with so many industries, so many manufacturing industries in Germany. One would think, okay, they have it all, they have everything, their economy is intact. But then it doesn't matter how big or whatever it is your country is producing, economic crisis is bound to happen to every country. I think it's something that fluctuates, that if it's properly managed. So I think Germany will also be able to put this in check and control it before it gets out of hand. Okay,
a systemic problem that is here to stay, making Germany's weak economic performance the new normal. Well, to answer that, we have to look at where Germany's current economic problems are actually coming from. In many ways, Germany has been one of the winners of the past 2 decades of the so-called peak globalization, because the external global conditions were benefiting exactly the type of economy that Germany has. Most importantly, it was hugely benefiting from a booming trade with China, which opened up its markets to German machinery, vehicles, and chemicals in the past 2 decades. And while China was going through its own rapid industrialization, it was happy to buy exactly the kind of stuff that Germany was selling. But these favorable conditions have dramatically changed. As China developed its own industrial capabilities, it began producing goods that directly compete with German exports, like machinery and cars. Today, China is not really a German customer anymore, but rather a competitor, and the geopolitical landscape has shifted as well. When Russia cut off its gas supplies to Europe in 2022, Germany suddenly lost its access to a major source of cheap energy, which for the past 2 decades powered its energy-intensive industries, and it was forced to find alternatives, which, however, came at a significantly higher cost, which then ended up lowering its competitive edge. And in addition to a changing external environment, Germany faces a whole lot of internal structural issues. Despite significant immigration, Germany has a rapidly aging population, and in the next decade, it's expected to lose about 1% of its workforce annually, which means fewer workers and lower consumer spending power, weakening domestic demand and placing further strain on the economy. On top of that, a lot of the positive stereotypes that used to be associated with the German economy are simply not true anymore. While Germans were once seen as Europe's hardest workers, recent data suggests something else. Germans actually work the fewest hours on average among OECD countries, with an average of 1,300 hours per year compared to the OECD average of 1,700 hours. And Germany's domestic market is notoriously overregulated, which stifles innovation and makes it difficult for new businesses to succeed. Tesla, which chose Germany as the location of its new factory, only to face major issues when trying to actually build and operate it in Berlin due to German bureaucracy, is a good example of the challenges that businesses face in Germany today. And talking about car manufacturers, this industry, which was once a crown jewel of its economy, now also faces major issues. The European Union has made the decision to ban cars with internal combustion engines by 2035 in order to transition to fully electric transportation. But those are exactly the cars that German manufacturers have historically excelled at producing and where they had significant technological advantage. But if the ban is not cancelled, this advantage will largely disappear, causing further damage to the German economy and forcing German car makers to now race to catch up in the electric car market where...
Okay, I don't know how long this is. I don't know how long this is for, all right? But if it is not properly managed, this can be quite trickish, okay? I mean, they're going to ban cars that use fuel simply because they want everyone to upgrade to electric cars. It's going to have a lot of impact on Germany because Germany, they produce cars that uses fuel. And if you're saying you're going to ban those type of cars, it's going to affect them because they will need to level up. They will need to start producing electric cars, which is not in line with what they already know. Okay, so this is really a tough one for Germany. Okay, if this is still in place, it is really going to affect them economically because they are going to have competitors, strong competitors, and you know what it is with competitors. You have to try to match up with them or do something different from them that will bring the attention to you, and that's not an easy thing to do. Okay,
they face brutal competition from Chinese and American companies, which are way ahead in electric car technology and battery production. And finally, Germany suffers from the same disease as much of Europe. It's overly dependent on traditional legacy industries. Most of the largest and most successful German companies were founded many decades or even well over 100 years ago, but there are very few leading tech companies and globally successful startups. Despite its reputation for innovation, Germany has yet to produce tech giants comparable to those in the US or China, which means that it's unable to tap into the fastest growing sectors of the global economy. And it's left without the high-value jobs that this sector tends to bring. But what does all of that tell us about the German economic future? Well, there are two competing narratives about where all of this is heading to. The first view argues that Germany's current economic challenges are not just a temporary downturn, but rather the beginning of a prolonged period of stagnation and very limited growth. The era of peak globalization, which fueled Germany's export-driven model, is most likely to be over, and instead the world is moving towards deglobalization, with supply chains becoming more localized and countries putting up more rather than less trade barriers. And as China closes its markets and aggressively promotes its own products abroad, Germany is likely to lose a major export market, and it's unclear what might replace it. On top of that, German policymakers seem to be focused on having balanced budgets to the point of obsession, rather than trying to find ways of how to promote growth. And while it's generally good to aim for that, in times like these, when you need bold investments, being overly cautious might actually stifle economic growth even more. And Germany's energy issues are only likely to get worse as well. As the energy demands are growing, but sources of energy are not, an increasing number of European countries, including Germany, will be unable to sustain themselves with their own electricity production. And Germany, that decommissioned its own nuclear plants, and where renewable energy is still struggling to fully meet demand, will face a potential energy shortfall, which could even further limit the industrial activity and make it even more expensive. But while all of that sounds pretty bad, and overcoming such a large number of challenges will be extremely difficult, this is not actually the first time that Germany is finding itself in this situation. In the late 1990s and the early 2000s, Germany was experiencing a deep economic crisis that was not so different from this one. It was struggling with low economic growth, high unemployment, and declining competitiveness, and it was often referred to as the sick man of Europe. Back then, the high costs of reunification with East Germany, the strong German currency which made German products less competitive internationally, and over-regulated inflexible labor market and outdated industries all made it seem like the German economy is just going to get worse and worse. But that didn't happen. Thanks to a series of quite drastic liberalization reforms, Germany managed to overcome the crisis and start growing again, transforming itself from a target of ridicule to an economic superstar in less than 10 years. And so the second, more optimistic view argues that Germany could pull off a similar transformation once again. After all, it still has many fundamental strengths. It does have a base of strong domestic companies and globally recognized brands, a tradition of research and innovation, a highly skilled workforce, low unemployment, low debt, and lot of savings. But this will not be easy. The challenges stacked against Germany are pretty significant, and in order for it to find a new long-term source of growth, one way or another, Germany will require significant reforms to reduce bureaucracy, enhance business friendliness, and most importantly, foster a more entrepreneurial culture, open to innovation and risk-taking. At the end of the day, Germany still has a lot of strengths, but its future hinges on whether they will be able to leverage them and adapt to changing global conditions, or whether they will remain stuck with an outdated model, unable to fix what just isn't working anymore, and watch as their economy gets worse and worse.
Oh wow, guys. I think economic crisis is like a problem for the entire world, not just Germany, okay? So many countries have issues with economy and it is no longer new to any. I don't think it's new to anybody and it can actually be managed. All right. But if it's not properly managed, that's where the problem comes in, okay? Germany has to like find a way to manage this problem manage it before it gets out of hand. It's indeed an incredible video. Okay, thank you guys for watching. If you have any suggestions, please drop them in the comment section. Thank you guys for watching, and see you guys on my next one. Bye.